Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the ESL Pro League Season number 7. We're going to be covering some NA action today for match day number 10, Mitch, and we're finally back into it. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been. We get to cover some nice Rogue and compLexity first up. I'm looking forward to that one. Some new interesting rosters, and then, you know, a couple sponsor plugs and some other nice games.
Yep, Splice and Optic going to be our second matchup for tonight. And as you said, I mean, really keen to actually see how 3 of these teams actually play. I mean, keen for Optic, but, well, you know, last season we were able to track the progress of, you know, Rogue, Splice, as well as compLexity. Want to see how they're going on this season as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, all of these new sort of, I mean, not new rosters, I would say, you know, all these old organizations and stuff like that, like Rogue being one of the newer ones and compLexity having been in Pro League for ages, are starting to make some really interesting additions, getting some of the older leaders mixed in with new talents, sort of foster and bring up some new players and develop their talent in the Pro League. So it's interesting to see how that's sort of going to develop, whereas usually they'd be playing on other like professional teams and stuff like that. And
yeah,
now
absolutely.
they're moving down to sort of the second tier.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a clean example of that is, obviously we'll look more into it afterwards, but for Rogue, they've picked up, I think it was Sick.
Yep.
And that was, in my mind, I'm like, okay, if Sick, I think with the Misfits rosters, there was like a bit of kerfuffle and whatnot. But for Sick, for him to step down from Misfits, a team that was playing in the majors, into Rogue, it was a bit of an interesting decision at the time because even though Rogue, I believe, is a decent outfit, they were, I think, objectively worse than Misfits.
Yeah, and he went in there pretty quickly. It wasn't like most of the other Misfits guys sort of stuck around in Misfits for quite a while, see what was happening with the rosters, whether the Frenchies were going to go back home, and what the rest of them were doing. But Sick was the first one out of the roster, pretty much. He was straight into Rogue, like maybe a couple days or a week, like after they finished their last tournament. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was just pretty much as soon as the contract ended, it was just, he's off. Well, if you're looking to, you know, play some more Counter-Strike or maybe even look for the streaming life, make sure you do get some Intel processors the world is watching. I've got an Intel processor. I can safely say that still I can play Inferno with a livable FPS.
Yep.
Wasn't the case with certain other branded processors that are not Intel.
Yeah, I've got an Intel processor also, and I can't say it really helps on Nuke, but I don't think there's a powerful processor enough to really.
How old is yours?
It's a little older, but that's
a little older, yeah. Maybe we should upgrade to a new one. Maybe I think the 8th generation is out now.
Maybe I will.
Yeah, jump on the 8th generation train, and maybe you can stream, so we can all follow Mitch Pilly Plowski as he plows his way through the opposition.
I'm pretty sure that's not going to be possible, as my upload's like 0.200 kilobytes a second.
I forgot about that. I was really excited because I'm like, you got the processor, but you ain't got the internet.
I literally used to stream Hearthstone and it looked like a slideshow, like a PowerPoint presentation. It was so bad.
I think certain PowerPoint presentations may have looked better than your stream.
Possibly.
It was just the graphical quality. But I mean, going on, and we'll take a look at our first matchup. I mean, between Rogue as well as compLexity. I mean, last season we saw compLexity probably. We would probably give compLexity the edge in the last season. But coming into this season, things have somehow I shouldn't say somehow, but slowly changed their way around.
I'll tell you what, this is a pretty spicy match, pretty underrated one, I would say. I don't know which way it's going to go. Looking at some of like Rogue's games and at least the highlights from it, like they're sort of newer players towards the roster, like GMD. Vice isn't a newer player, but like he's a newer player to the Pro League, I suppose. I think it's only his like 2nd season or something like that.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
they're starting to look really spicy. Like they're really starting to improve a lot, and that's interesting to see because usually the weaker point is these younger players going into the Pro League, whereas the older players, more experienced players, are sort of able to hold their own, go consistently. But when you get the younger sort of firepower start to fire for your team, as mixed in with the consistency of the older players and the experience and the good decision making, that's when you really start to get a fire roster. And I think that's what we're seeing with NRG as well in the Pro League so far. Like they're really starting to click, and that's going to make a competitive season. You can already see that with how far like Cloud9 SK is on the ladder.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't played as many games because obviously they've had to travel a few more times internationally,
yeah,
but that actually allows a lot of these, I guess, not as established teams in the sense that, you know, global superstars. Because Cloud9, after winning the last major, definitely global superstars alongside with SK now, you'd argue. I mean, NRG has been touted for a very long time, a lineup with a lot of potential, a lot of hope. And finally, it looks like, I shouldn't say finally, NRG always do show good signs at the beginning of the season. It just depends on how well they can keep up this form. It looks like Ethan, now with Ethan joining the lineup, it's kind of this core 3 fragging roster, which is working really well for them. But enough of NRG. Back into Rogue as well. well as compLexity. So for Rogue, the two changes there would be, I think, GMD as well as Sick. On the side of compLexity, we won't see old mate Slemdog anymore, but Peter, not Peter, sorry, but FNS coming in. I don't know why I said Peter. Must have been watching too many Tarek highlight videos.
Yeah, possibly.
It's
I mean,
always...
FNS, like a really experienced leader, a lot of tenure in sort of being able to utilize his talent properly, and also someone that I personally really respect for his attitude towards winning. Like, he really takes winning seriously, as opposed to, like, he always wanting to improve. He's always trying to get upsets. Like, a lot of these NA teams at the major, you know, they might go, oh, we want to play our game, or we want to do this or that, and then they end up getting stomped by these European teams and stuff. But FNS, someone who, whenever he went to majors with CLG, or whenever he went overseas for international tournaments, always gunning for those upsets, and a lot of time he would get them. Yeah. With like much less talented rosters.
I'm just worried about this form of, like, say for example, FNS coming in when he was part of CLG, or maybe probably focusing on compLexity a little bit here, because obviously with a change in IGL does come a big change in strategies, whereas for Rogue, you don't really have a change in the IGL just yet, so you still have kind of like, you know, you have players integrating the roster, but FNS, he may want his particular direction where he goes, no, where, you know, new strat book, all the players have to learn something new, may take some time for them to reintegrate their, you know, what they previously learnt to what they're doing now. And my biggest fear then is that when we're looking back to CLG, when FNS was playing for CLG, their T side was very good, their CT side was absolutely dismal in comparison, most of the time.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, like, just this game in general, how both teams match up against each other, because these are the sort of games that these teams are going to be wanting to take, like, 2-0 to really boost their Pro League standings. Like, when you're versing you know, as an underdog team versus a team like Cloud9 or SK or whatever, you want to go for the 1-1. You want to try and get a one-map upset or whatever. But whenever you're playing a team that's on your level, or worse than you really want to get those 2-0s and, you know, push your way up the Pro League standards. Because when you get to the middle order of, like, the, you know, the ladder and stuff like that, you really want to be pushing those mid-tier teams down and pushing yourself up, so you give yourself a better chance at going through to the finals.
Yeah, well, if you're looking to make sure you enhance your game as well, make sure you look good with cosmetics and whatnot, make sure you do check out GameFlip. They do sell a lot of virtual online goods as well, so that's always good to kind of apply your trade at, as well as if you take a look at the giveaway. Always fun times. $10,000. What would you do with $10,000? I asked Sniper the other day, what would you do with it?
I would honestly probably make good financial decisions, because that's not usually what I do.
You just gave the same. You gave the same answer as Sniper, just a little bit more condensed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I really wouldn't know what to do. I'd probably just put it away and sit on it for a while, because
you could upgrade your computer to an Intel, maybe a newer Intel. Maybe you can just, with $10,000, you can install a fiber optic network, so you can actually finally get good internet.
Oh man, that's really tempting.
If you think about it, $10,000 can buy you better internet in Australia.
Yeah.
In certain places, I'm not going to say you can just pay, you can drop 10K in Australia and get good internet, but it is definitely an option. Going back into, well, which point were we going into before?
We were talking about like CT sides and T sides for Rogue, and also compLexity and stuff like that, and how they're looking on it. It's going to be interesting to see them go into a map like Train. Saw Rogue play a little bit, and especially compLexity. I would say, I don't know whose pick is which pick, but I'll probably say it's compLexity's pick, because every time I see them play a series, they literally play Train every time. So it'll be interesting to see how this match sort of goes. Rogue is a team I associate with being really strong on maps like Mirage and Inferno and stuff like that, so we'll see how they go on a little bit of more of a wonky map like Train, but they do have that AWPing presence in Cadian and some pretty strong, like, riflers to take control of map areas and hold inners, stuff like that, take SL.
Really strong riflers, if you think about it. I mean, Vice is still there, and you touted Vice as a pretty strong talent as well.
Yeah.
And I really want to see this AWP matchup as well. Peter versus Cadian. This is pretty much experience as well as probably, yeah, a lot of experience on both sides. Going to be matching up against each other in a very AWP-dominant map, so...
I'd probably give it to Cadian like 8 times out of 10, but I'd say that Peter has that, like, you know... he has those days where he just shows up and he hits everything. Like, I've seen him in high-pressure games, and I think this is the problem that I have with Peter anyway, is that whenever there's, like, high-pressure games, or it's, like, that 14-14 round, and he's holding a line with the AWP, I just see him whiff the most easiest shots sometimes. And sometimes he'll absolutely go off in, like, a more low-pressure round. Like, when, you know, the game just started going, he'll, like, get 3Ks, or he makes some massive impact plays and put the players on eco. But when the pressure starts to get down to it, I feel like it really affects him a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably where he's gotten a bit of a, I wouldn't say a bit of a reputation, but now starting to become known as more of a player that can dominate online as you said, the environments where it's not as pressured when it comes to the crunch time, doesn't have as much impact. I wouldn't say that it's like the difference in impact is dramatic. It's like in these games, you can see him probably go and drop a 1.6, 1.7 rating, but when it comes to one of the closer matches, maybe drops to closer to 1 or 1.1, which isn't bad. Just in comparison, when you're expecting an impact play from your AWPer, it's not as great.
Yeah, it gives you a false sense of security that you're actually better than you really are. And, you know, it's interesting to see that out of a player. I mean, it's all speculation on our part. Like, maybe it's not really the case, or maybe it's some other factor. But I really feel like that's the case myself. And I mean, it's really interesting to see in a player with so much experience and so much tenure that it's not really something that's ever disappeared over time. Like, you know, Peter used to be a player that's played at majors and played in LAN and stuff like that back in like 2014, 2015.
I think he did
stuff.
decently well. It wasn't
Oh,
as if
he had some games when he was first starting up with CLG where he was just popping off versus Europeans and stuff and dropping 30s on like Dust 2 and like going crazy. But I mean, interesting to see that that really hasn't affected long term how you feel. And I mean, it comes and goes, especially with someone like Peter, who I feel like he's been in and out of rosters and he's taken extended breaks sometimes where he's had like a season off or whatever. When you come back from that season, you don't feel like that same player who played in like 2014 and 2015. Like I can even tell you from like personal experience, when you take a season off and you come back and then you play that team that like used to be a lot worse than you, they've improved a lot and, you know, they absolutely, you know, dominate you that one game. It really messes with your confidence if you don't come off to a strong start, and you can start to feel like you're a lot less of a tenured player and a lot less good than you used to be, when really it's just, you know, you're shaking off the rust and you're trying to get your confidence back, you're trying to field the game.
Yeah, I mean, he's played for about a season now, so I'm fairly certain he's got his confidence back, and he's been grinding out the hours as well. Talking about grinding out the hours, if you're looking to, you know, develop your game and whatnot, ECA Mountain to your league, what better way is there to kind of see these upcoming teams? I mean, we saw last season it was Rogue as well as I think Ghost Gaming that came out alongside with, was it Splice as well that came out through there?
I think so.
There were a bunch of teams, and those are the teams actually we're following today. So still kind of following their progression, probably about 6 or 7 months afterwards. And now I think Dignitas, I think it was Saw that came through #1 in the ECA Mountain Dew League. They've been seeded in, and hopefully they get some actual really vital experience coming into this season.
I think they're in a lot of trouble, to be honest. They're already down 0-6. Obviously, they had that difficult situation where one of their players was too young to actually compete in the Pro League, and he was one of their better players as well. They replaced him with somebody who was like fairly solid, but not really even close to the same kind of player and not nearly as much impact. So it really changed up their roster. They've recently removed a player because that's what really happens when a lot of these Premier teams sort of come into the Pro League. It really shakes up their structure, really shakes up their players, because the Pro League can really tell you who can play well under pressure, who's got what it takes and who doesn't. And a lot of the times that's why you see these like crazy roster shuffles after a team pushes from Premier into Pro League, because they feel like either there's a lot of internal conflicts when the team's not just cutting the mustard, or some individual players they don't feel like are performing well enough or aren't doing well in that environment, and then they start the crazy roster shuffles, the changing a player every couple of weeks. And that's what we saw with Ghost last season. That was just a roller coaster.
We also saw it with Rogue, but not in the essence, in the sense that maybe they weren't trying to chop. I mean, with Rogue, it was more of they had one player that was underage, they wanted to bring someone in, but that person said no, and they decided to go somewhere else instead. So for Rogue, I think it was just an unfortunate kind of circumstances where they were kind of being played around a little bit more, as opposed to them going, this isn't working, we're going to make a roster change. But they're finally looking like they've found a stable core 5. And that it is a bit of a scary core 5 as well. All of these, I guess you could say, middle tier teams now, because we can't really say the lower tier anymore. Definitely not with these lineup of players, as well as the performances they're putting up, especially with, well, once again, we give example NRG, always that kind of like middle tier team. They've always shown a lot of potential. Suddenly they're a top tier team taking against Liquid. In I think it was like the iBuy Power Masters the other weekend.
Like that,
So that's no small easy feat.
Yeah, they took it 2-0, looked pretty convincing as well. And Liquid's a team that you shouldn't really underrate in this. They're definitely a tier 1 team. They're, you know, crazy consistent. I mean, in this Pro League alone, they haven't even lost a game, I don't think, and that's online.
Yeah, they're 6-0 at the moment.
Yeah, so they're just going crazy. So it's interesting to see NRG to really take that one. And I feel like it was all like, it was Cirque and
Cirque and Breezy.
Cirque and Breezy mostly, yeah. Like, I think Fugly had a it was either Fugly or Ethan had a worse rating than Daps, which almost never happens, and they still won. So across the team board of performance, and it's really interesting to see like how much depth of firepower they have in that team that they don't even need like all of their players to go off to beat a team with such depth like Liquid.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just crazy performance. It really shows a lot, and that's not. Was that online or on LAN? I'm not sure.
Honestly, can't remember. So
If it's on LAN, that's pretty huge. If it's online, then maybe not as impressive because I feel like look, it's 2018. Online CS is just like every player can kind of perform at this point. It's not like it's meaningless. It's a good way to get your foot in the door and get your experience up against these teams, against this level of competition. The pressure's obviously completely different on LAN, but the game's been out like 6 years. Everyone can come into an online match and put up decent numbers, or they should be able to. And if they can't by this point, it's kind of like, you have a little bit ways to go. Maybe you should go back and play another season Premier, etc.
yeah, well, I mean, we've always said that online as well as LAN is a different skill set. So
Yeah, of course.
I mean, a lot of these teams obviously playing online this season want to make their way to the LAN finals at Dallas, and Dallas, I think I looked at tickets for it. For us from Australia, it may be a little bit costly, but for you guys over in America, maybe it's a little bit cheaper over there. So try to organize
mate, even the domestic flights, like prices in America are ridiculous compared to here.
Well,
like we can go from one city to another for like $100 or less. In America, you go from one city to another, it's like a couple $100, mate.
Well, it depends where those cities are as well. We're talking about on the same. Are we talking about the same side of the seaboard, or are we talking about the opposite side of the seaboard in here? See, because it's like it's really unfair to say, for example, if you're flying from we'll just say from Cali to Dallas, because in my mind that's pretty far away.
Yeah.
That's like flying from Sydney for us here to Adelaide's cheap. Adelaide's not as far away. I feel like it's probably to Perth.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon. The
no,
United
Dallas
States of America is
isn't
pretty
that far away. No, I'm gonna call you out on this one.
Okay, you probably know the geography of America better than I do.
Probably.
I know the geography of Australia decently well. How long does it take to drive? I don't know. I know it just takes Sydney to Adelaide's 15 hours. There you are. So you can't afford if you can't afford the flights,
I think
might
it
as
would
well
be.
get a couple.
No, I think it would be similar from like LA to Dallas. It would be similar to that. So
what was that?
I think from LA to Dallas, surely it would be similar to that, right?
Maybe. Who knows? We'll probably have to find out during the break. We'll probably go back out and take a look at the information. But let's take a quick look at the Betway odds for this game. And who would you favour this to before they come up? Don't look at the screen.
I'm not looking.
Yeah.
Man,
who would you
I feel like
here?
Rogue is so strong at the moment, and I think they can really take it against compLexity. But the thing is that compLexity is super well versed on trains, so I'd say the odds would be close. Might slightly favour compLexity if it's their map pick. And then
No. I mean, you were good in the sense, you started off really well by saying, you're giving Rogue the advantage. It might be a close series. I actually didn't see the numbers. I saw it from beforehand. I'm assuming they're about the same. It was favoured slightly in the favour of Rogue.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, not, the biggest margin by far that we've seen, but, close enough to kind of go...
It's all form, I think.
Yep.
So if Rogue's in good form at the moment, I would favour them. The thing is, though, that if it's compLexity's map pick and they played this map 1,500 times, like, they can take it. Doesn't matter who they're playing against, they can still take it.
So should we be jumping on train soon?
Love this map. Lots of browns, lots of greys. Just beautiful colours.
Was it just murky pastel colours?
It's just so gross.
Desaturated.
Look at that texture on the wall. Like, who made that? Why? It looks so bad.
Some Russian boy from the 1970s.
Some parts of this map look good.
Train is set in Russia, isn't it?
I don't know.
Where is it set in?
I think it's set in Russia.
Anyway, you got old mate Comrade over there. I don't know which Comrade it is. It's one of the Comrades. It is in Russia, so...
1 flash and 5 armors with 2 P50 drops. Yes. I've never seen that in my entire life. Then we got 4 armors, double flash, and a kit. Where's old mate FNS playing? He's playing on the inners, so maybe flashes for the outside to support if they go outer, or some flashes on the inside to retake. Interesting to see that there has been no smoke picked up by FNS to smoke the bomb. It's going to favour the flashes instead. Out comes the 1 flash, going to push inner. That's a sick entry, literally, onto Def. 5 versus 4, and 2 people going to be walking out Ivy. They're not committing yet.
Yeah, this is the problem with having P250. Sometimes at long range, not the most accurate. I mean, we could argue that for the Glock as well. On Android, the pressure from the SL isn't coming out fast enough, but it doesn't matter because Vice comes in from Ivy. Peter, that's sharp with the USP to get the kill on Vice. And now Rogue a little bit split up, not getting their way into the bomb site quick enough. Trying to get the rotations off, but the rotations were not being... Well, compLexity didn't bite. But now that compLexity is charging in, it's down to a 1-on-1 all of a sudden. Six got the P250. Peter, only 2 bullets left in the USP. He's going to be so low on the ammo, but Sick has more HP to play with. Peter does manage to get to safety and find another weapon.
Sick's going to book it straight towards Inner. Peter's looking to sort of get in position. He's kind of chilling around, so he's got to actually allow this bomb plant, which is pretty big for the T side. Although, in all honesty, Rogue should have won this round already, in my opinion. Kit picked up for Peter, so he's going to be able to take his time. It's actually pretty big because Sick's quite low HP, and Peter can fake this bomb multiple times and get a lot of shots off. He only needs like 1 headshot, obviously, or like 2 to 3 body shots, and he's got enough time to fake it maybe 2 to 3 times and make... Oh,
yeah, you don't need to... I was going to say, it doesn't matter if you fake it. If Sick just pulls off that shot just slowly coming out.
That's a 3K for him.
Yeah, well done with the P250. And Rogue do manage to strike first blood, but it was very, very close. And Peter, the reason why he didn't rotate, he was scared that it was going to be a fake. It's pretty obvious when you signal like you're going up a ladder, but he doesn't know if you're coming back down.
And now we're seeing, I mean, still core 3 for Rogue with 2 newer players. Sick, obviously no stranger to Pro League, and GMD previously probably playing Premier a couple of times and being picked up into this roster for the Pro League. So it's good that Rogue actually retained their spot. I think there was points in last season where they were looking to get relegated. Vice defending that aggression from FNS pretty easily. GMD coming out the Ivy, and pretty good anti-eco strategy to just split Ivy and T-Con.
Yeah, no smokes as well, which is good to see, because sometimes you don't want to be giving smoke grenade. You don't want to be giving the opportunity for CTs to make use of the smoke grenades and, you know, swindle around the edges with the CZs. So coming in open where you're able to trade each other out, it's pretty solid. You've got the 2 AKs, you know, utilizing that at the long distance, and the UMPs as well as a scout to back out the SMGs. So compLexity, they do buy up a little bit in this. Some of them have forced up armor and CZs, and the others just basic pistols.
Yeah, I think it's starting to become a little bit more standard nowadays for not everybody. I mean, Peter's the AWP, right? But a lot of these guys only bought Deagles with no armor. The armor sometimes is not making a whole lot of a difference, and especially now that it's second round AKs and stuff like that is becoming more and more common with the umps and quite a bit of armor pen. The pistol can go 1-for-1 with the ump, but against the AK, you know, you're still going to get torn apart most of the time. So nowadays, people are getting really sick of buying, you know, pistol armor and then on the 3rd round having to deal with like 4.1k or whatever, and you've got enough for like a flashbang or a smoke. Whereas if you just buy a Deagle and don't fully commit, you know, you're looking something more like 4.8k, 5k, where you have enough for maybe like a molly, incendiary, or, you know, smoke, flash, and a kit or something like that, you know.
And I also like, I mean, personally, what I like doing is getting Deagles in both rounds in a row without buying armor is Sick. It's going to be walking to a stack and communicate that. So Rogue now coming out together. This is an improvement from last season. I mean, we only have last season to work off. Obviously, they've played a lot more since then. I'm assuming they fixed a lot of the problems. But just coming out together and making sure they trade and not splitting up in these anti-ecos is really nice to see. So even though they've taken a lot of damage, it doesn't matter as much because they're always in a position to kind of make sure that each other are traded out. So they know where the last CT is here. They've lost an SMG, but they should be able to retrieve the other AK-47. Hiko needs to be cautious here, though, because the other Ts are still in the open bomb yard, and Hiko is by himself. Let's start moving here to make sure that Depth isn't offered an opportunity, because this is definitely a prime opportunity. Very, very low HPTs to be playing around with.
Oh, it's a potential damage here for Def. He's going to pick up another one. Only 1 bullet left. Is he going to be able to retain this gun? Probably going to get double peaked. Does fake it and actually, with the 1 bullet, go for Katie, and who's only showing his feet. Good luck hitting that one, buddy. And it's going to be 3-0 for Rogue pretty easily. Peter straight onto the AWP, and because he didn't buy, he's got enough for armor and some utils. And you're seeing the difference. This is the massive difference. I mean, FNS went for head armor, God knows why, against the full AK round, as well as Android. They could have had much better util. But look at the difference between Yeaster, who didn't buy armor, he only bought a Deagle, and then FNS's utility. It's just night and day, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, with the extra incendiary grenade and smoke grenade, especially if you're the solo base type player, you need that utility to make use of it. So,
I mean, the solo B site players use this smoke. He's only got a flash, no incendiary, and it looks like it's going to be a contact B. Support comes in from Android, but he doesn't have a Molotov either. Not sure if he's the appropriate person to be rotating. Probably would have preferred it be Yeaster with Android on the outside. He can smoke SL. Yeaster can drop his incendiary and a molly. In comes the hit. Deep smoke down both lanes. and a molly towards backside. Pop,
Yeah.
this is a beautiful execute.
Yeah, and Android not burnt by anything just yet. That's really interesting. The mollies look like they're good, and they're all coming out from uppers, but no one's on the low ground and stick. Too many angles they're dealing out with. So Rogue, they don't get the kills that they probably need to completely turn this back in their favor. Kaden's managed to sneak his way very close, but Peter's watching the angle, does manage to find the pick, and Hiko just in the middle of no man's land. So Rogue don't manage to find the first contact, and Android just staying alive for probably a lot longer than they expected him to.
They didn't even check him in that position with 4 people coming out upper, which is just, they just assumed that no one could be there, and that's one of those things that, you know, when you're dry running and stuff, maybe in scrims the strats worked a certain way, and then when you come down to the game time, you throw the mollies in a certain place, you assume no one's going to play there, and you're just caught off guard.
Yeah, I mean, that was a prime example where it looked really good. It looked like that player at Pop Dog should have been forced off, but they weren't, so...
It's one of those things where, like, you map out a whole execute with all the smokes and all the right flashes and all the right Molotovs in theory, but, I mean, it's something I've learnt the hard way, you know, as an RGO, is that what you think is the prime execute that's perfect. Oh, Peter... He's in a lot of trouble here. 3 people posted up. FNS is going to support him, and that's a massively good outcome for compLexity in that position. Six going to run his way up. Olaf going to pick up Andrew with some really nice spray control. Gets FNS as well, but he does get dinked up. Yeaster, oh, thought he was going to trade that, but Peter comes in. This is some good trading from Cole, picking off of each other and taking advantage of the situations instead of playing scared. It's good stuff from them. But I was going to say... You think this perfect execute's going to come out with all the right smokes and all the right flashes, but it's not actually the optimal execute for how, you know, it works out 90% of the time, and practice isn't going to tell you whether it's good or not. And that's why you see a lot of pro teams, they walk in places dry, or they'll only throw 1 smoke and flash over, and you're like, all these guys had utility. It's like, no, the execute wouldn't have worked out that well if they threw all that utility, because they haven't got the manpower in the site. You know, they take longer to come out, and then the counter utility comes out. You know, what you think might be the optimal execute might be actually super suboptimal.
And Depth, Cadian's going to walk straight into Depth, who rotates into CT at the perfect timing. So compLexity with the double AWP setup now. Really quick on. I was going to say Rogue probably pushed Ivy a little bit too quickly. I think they were only expecting Peter to be stuck at the server box, but... I mean, FNS was able to support him and get a kill. Then the second player pushing through the Molotov, which was Hiko, is just going to get close-range shotgunned by Peter, who's just waiting the entire time there. He knows he has to stand and fight. He can't get out at that position. So, Rogue are just going to go on the pistols for now. Their economy, they had some money on certain players, but not enough to get the AKs and the full bunch of utility. And this is going to allow compLexity to farm up a little bit. Android's going to be an SL, going to be looking up to rack up some money with the MP9.
Yeah, I'm liking to see this from Rogue, and it's something that, you know, we're seeing more and more nowadays, is that the armor a lot of the time is just not really worth it. When you're buying up pistols, it's alright to get a couple of upgraded pistols, a bit of utility will usually go a lot longer than the armor, and if you're just buying armor every single time you eco, the amount that chips into your economy and your utility can really limit your options on the T side. You're going to have to go for a lot more contact plays. You haven't got as many Molotovs to clear out spots, so it takes a lot longer if you want to go for a default round to actually, you know, contact out and clear all the spots and have all your protocols in check, whereas in other circumstances, you could just throw a Molotov to that position, not have to worry about it.
2 smoke grenades for the T's to work with, but the CT holders still have their incendiary grenades. You can see Yeaster, he's got his incendiary grenade, and there's also Depth, who's watching the upper ramp, who's got an incendiary grenade. So the first smoke's going to go. This is just going to be a bait from Rogue. They know that there's still incendiary grenades, so they're going to buy one. They're going to... What's the word for it? Bait one out, that's it.
Yeah. I mean... Personally, I would have liked to see them throw it and run out at the same time, but they're going to wait instead, and it's going to work out beautifully from them. Interesting position from Yeaster. Actually, a lot of the time you could see people shadow when they play on top of Pop like that, so it might have been the case from Rogue, but not sure. They seem pretty ready for him in that position.
This is now starting to become a bit scary. 2 ops on the retake. FNS shutting down some critical pressure. 2 Ts. I think Peter saw the shadow of one. FNS is going to be pushing in. But the rest of the T is going to be trying to take down Depth, but FNS, once again, saving his teammate, and Cadian just trying to play the patience game right now. He's waiting, but there's going to be one smoke balloon. Cadian finds one, but he can't. Oh my goodness, he dinks FNS, and he gets the knife kill. And there it is. Depth will manage to finish off.
He
doesn't have a kit.
I don't know. It's going to be pretty close, Kev.
That's a lot of damage, regardless of whether there's time or not. I think he's got it.
He had a kit right in front of him as well.
But look how much damage was done to the economy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Orp lost 3 rifles
and
on the back of basic pistols.
Rogue, they've arguably got a better economy than compLexity after that round. 3 of the compLexity players going to be broke. Full utility for them. Interesting that they didn't go for the double AWP despite, you know, such a great money. Similar situation for both teams, but probably only a single eco no matter who loses this round. Nice flash and Molotov combo to really stop that T-com push-up. Peter playing close, you know, he is not afraid, but Vice ready for it, just showing the edge of his head, and that's one of those angles that it's really confusing to play at in CSGO. Like, one guy can see the entire guy's body, and then Peter can only see the side of your head. Doesn't really make sense to me, but, I mean, it's up to Valve, I guess.
It's good communication from Sick as well, who probably dropped down and heard the scope noise and went, he's AWPing the inner line, and that allows Vice to slow down and take a little bit more time and clean it out. Because normally you wouldn't jiggle that corner. That's open to uppers.
He might be jiggling for uppers, and when he's not picked from uppers, then yeah. I like this spot from Def. Like, it's super underrated to play inside of the upper ramp and just wait for the execute to come in. Half the time, only one guy's checking you. If you win that aim duel, they have to be so hesitant on the site. If nobody checks you, you're potentially just going to win the round. Especially when you're at a disadvantage. Unfortunately, Rogue, good stuff from them. Peter's aggression sort of backfires on compLexity, and Rogue just take advantage, do a really sensible slow down, wait for a bit of aggression, clear out the extra angles. When Def, I think it was, does go aggressive from upper, they just trade him out, and the round breaks down from there.
And that's the difference in your anti-ecos. As the CT side, you got to keep all these rifles up.
You do. The CT economy is so fragile.
Yep. Because imagine a round where Rogue, yeah, they got into the B-bomb site. It was pretty easy for them, in all honesty. Able to get the first pick on Yeastar, who didn't do enough damage really to kind of justify that position at the end of the day. You've got to be getting at least 2 kills there.
It's just not a good position to be playing anti-eco, I mean, in my opinion anyway.
Doesn't matter if the T's... Oh, okay, so they do manage to take an M4 off.
Yeah, that's a double eco for compLexity on 2 of their players. That's really sad territory, to be honest.
And they're just going to get the money in line except for Peter,
They're
who
not,
wants
though,
to get the
because...
They are. There it is. Everything's back in line now.
I guess so, yeah. Yace is just bought up full, so that's interesting.
That's the call from FNS going, look, our money is just completely atrocious at the moment. Everyone make sure they're on the same... Make sure everyone's on the same account balance, and it's going to be an A-site stack.
Just dropping a little HE nade down there, saying hello. I mean, so far, like, it's been a pretty straightforward game. Haven't seen too many in-depth tactics. I feel like no team in the Pro League's really bringing out super in-depth tactics most of the time. It's just kind of, you know, chilling.
I mean, you want to be practicing your stock standard. This is not a really high-pressure one where you want to be whipping out some really cool strategy just yet. You just want to be refining the basics, making sure you're doing all the little things right, and probably going back to the point where he says, you know, you can have a theory in terms of that B-side execute. That was definitely theory, or they may practice a couple of times, but this is where you want to be practicing it even more so when it comes to the real crunch time, you know, when it comes finals, when it comes to elimination games. I shouldn't say that these ones aren't important, because we've seen last season, it's sometimes a difference of 2 games that makes you into finals and sometimes it doesn't. But in the context of this is where you have a little bit more opportunity to play around, to learn a little bit more about what works and what doesn't. Yeah,
look, that execute, I don't think I've seen a team do it for a long time, since maybe like Na'Vi 2016 or something like that. And even when they did it on LAN in a super high pressure environment where their opponents wouldn't have been able to hear them as well coming as you would online. And it didn't even work that well when they did it. It worked pretty well a couple of times, but nowadays I don't feel like that kind of thing's super effective most of the time.
Lexi just opt to save after they just decide, you know what, we can still fight back in the next round. We've got a Scout, 2 CZs, and a MAC-10 and a CZ as well. Yeastar just with a single P250. Android's just blind in no man's land, and Yeastar is able to find 1.
Love how like little effort that was with the P250. So much trigger discipline from Yeastar. Like, so many players there would just be like spamming mouse 1 with that P250 and AD, and he's just literally going like AD, and just like tapping his mouse so slowly right on the guy's head and just hoping for the best. That's how many, like, that's just, all that is literally thousands of games of Counter-Strike and thousands of ecos and thinking about how efficiently you're actually firing your weapons and stuff, going into aimbots or whatever, or deathmatch, and just being like, oh, at this range with the P250, if I shoot at this kind of speed, it's going to hit more often than if I'm spamming mouse 1. And most people don't think about that. It's like the tiniest little thing, right? But it makes actually a big difference, and that's the kind of thing that, you know, separates a, you know, premier tier player from like someone who's playing in Pro League. And even most Pro League players wouldn't really be doing stuff like that, to be honest.
Yeah, trigger discipline is... It's so weird for pistols,
underrated.
actually. It's really weird because sometimes, like with, say, for example, a P250, you're rewarded for it. Now with the new Tech 9,
rewarded for it, yeah.
You're rewarded for it, but 5.7, no. Not in the essence where they change the weapon to be designed as a... Yeah, if you sit still and just click as fast as you can, it becomes more accurate than the previous iteration. I mean, the previous iteration of the 5.7 was a little bit BS sometimes because you could be strafing, just spamming as a CT and just getting a triple dink.
Yeah. Tech 9, old Tech 9 and old 5.7, definitely don't miss those days. Old TZ was even worse though.
Yeah, I mean, we had a good reminiscence session, Ian and I, the other day about, yeah, it was a little bit BS, $300, no draw time. It had more, it had it was like 12 bullets, 24, wasn't it, at the first release? It had 2 clips in reserve.
I think Rogue's just misthrown one of their smokes slightly. I don't know if it's going to punish them because they are going straight through the sandwich smoke. This is a nice execute, actually. They go through the sandwich smoke when they smoke off green train. They all get onto the left side bomb train. Cole's all got to fight from behind this bomb train area, and they're going to get the bomb down. These mollies are going to push compLexity out from the bomb train, but this doesn't work as efficiently as they might have liked. FNS does almost die from it, but no utility left for Rogue, and they're just going to be able to... They're going to have to win these aim duels. GMD's in the key position here. He's going to pick up Android. Oh, this is beautiful from Rogue.
Yeah,
that
GMD
was so well done.
Yeah, GMD just puts himself in a position where he draws all the threat, and all of a sudden compLexity, they know there's a T close by, but there's so much of Rogue just setting up really sweet crossfires. They're rewarded for it. Look at their economy. It's absolutely amazing. compLexity, it's the opposite of amazing. It's pretty shabby. And Rogue are looking like they're taking a T-half quite comprehensively on their own map pick. This is Rogue's map pick, surely. compLexity wouldn't go, oh yeah, this is our map pick, and Rogue go, yeah, let's pick T side.
That execute it's so interesting that it works so effectively because compLexity, I mean, I don't know if Rogue specifically did it because of how compLexity is playing their CT side, because they seem to be playing like pretty far back on the bomb train, right? Like most of the time they're playing Ivy and bomb train with the fast rotate inner. And that execute literally punishes that setup so perfectly. But if you go up against FaZe and you throw that execute at it, and Rain's playing at E-box, he's just going to bang all your heads off. And they're playing on top of blue train, not giving you as much respect. So going up against a CT side where they're playing full respect like that, that executes like literally the perfect thing you want to run. But if compLexity start to play a bit more aggressive and play inside SL and stuff like that, it's not going to be as effective.
Wonder if they heard FNS make a footstep. GMD's been watching it, but I think they may suspect he's here. They notice the AWP has been taken, so GMD's checking the line. Oh, doesn't check it quick enough. And FNS, he won't be able to bail out. Too many Ts ready to just swing at contact. And compLexity, they might decide to bring the double AWP out again, but they're starting to lose rounds to make an impact. And on the CT side, you need more than 3 rounds at this stage. You need more than 5 even. You need 6 or 7.
Yeah, this is where compLexity has to turn it around. Interestingly enough, that honestly the 2 players who I believe are sort of the standouts for compLexity are probably Android and Yaster, in my opinion. And neither of them are really turning up to this game, and you're seeing the results of that at the moment. Every time they have a good game, compLexity has a shot at winning. I mean, I remember when Yaster first joined this Cole roster, I was watching him on Overpass. He's popping off 4K'ing everyone, wrecking people.
Well, Def is going to get wrecked because they throw the sandwich smoke, and you can see compLexity was so scared of the fact that Rogue were going to run the same strategy. Instantly, call comes out from compLexity to go through his CT. I would just try to bail at this point in time. Caden's watching the angle, spots one. Probably not going to re-peek here.
Is this Hiko calling, or is this one of the new guys?
I don't know, to be honest. That would be a good question, but it's looking...
Yeah.
It looks so good.
Yeah. Like, that round, you know, it might have looked like a bit of a puggy play from Rogue or whatever, but it was actually super structured the way that they approached that. Like, they walked out Ivy and they walked out Olaf, and I think maybe even Pop, I can't remember. But they were all walking out a certain angle, and as soon as somebody had contact, instant molly to the back of bomb train, and the split comes through so hard through the sandwich smoke and through Ivy, and Cole just can't deal with that.
Yeah, instantly, it's all the CTs have to fight 2 different angles, and that's down to complexity. Probably Def not controlling the Olive corridor as well as he needed to. It allowed Stick to get up there so quickly. He was just patiently, he was just having a stroll on the park, and he's rewarded with a very soft kill.
As soon as one of the CTs gets picked, they just crunch, like instantly. There's no hesitation, and that's what's good to see.
So the CT's maybe trying to push a little bit closer. Android's got a flashbang, but that's not going to be a pop flash unless he throws it for himself. He's showing his corner, and Sick, he's there at the angle. Sick is going to get 1, and he's going to get 2. Circadian draws them in. They wanted the AWP, but they're going to get nothing but death. And that Molotov's probably just a little bit too short. You see Sick is aware of that danger, and he's still going to check the line. He knows that it's gone a little bit too short to clear out the sandwich position. And Rogue just doing no wrong, really, at this stage.
Yeah. It's looking pretty rough for Cole. I mean, it's one of those games where Rogue just... They seem all on the same page, and complexity kind of don't. Like, they're playing much more individually, but their individuals aren't turning up as much as they need to be. So, they're kind of just getting steamrolled.
Yep, the Sick just comes out, gets the ace for the round.
$14,000, that's, a little bit of money.
I don't know, Vice looks pretty poor, 16,000.
Cadian, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep buying these AWPs at this point. Like,
yeah, there's just not enough in the tank for Rogue. They have to be really cautious right now as complexity.
Here comes the double AWP.
We saw the double AWP in the previous round. Didn't work out. Don't know what that HE grenade was. They dumped an HE for a flashbang, but it hit them instead.
They smoked off upper ramp, interesting.
They're expecting the double AWP setup again, and they're going to potentially just make a contact play this time around in the B-bomb site. So very early flashbang to try to force something out. Sick's going to go down quite early on.
He gets banged through the SL wall.
It's wallbang. Yaestar not being able to drop any grenades may prove detrimental. He's been mollied off. He has to smoke himself off. And the tease. I mean, you got Vice just waiting for Yaestar to kind of peek around. He's already made his way to oil.
How much time is this buying? That's crazy.
Buying a bit of time, but Vice is able to take him out finally. GMD has spotted out the head of Peter. Oh, just tapping away, does manage to get the kill. So it's reset to a 3-on-3, but there is one coming in from behind who's just slowing things down. Android knows who GMD is, but they can't do anything about it. It's such a good position to be sitting on the T side. No incendiary grenades coming yet. FNS has been spotted out, so no one's coming in there now. FNS mollies out. Hiko just dodges out. Android can't find the second. GMD finds 2. The young talent manages to find 2. Is the young man or old mate? I don't know just yet, but Hiko's going to clean up. We know he's old mate. And Rogue looking to make it into the 12-3 half, which is just on the back of not anything too fancy, just the correct calls, making sure they trade each other out efficiently, and complexity just not really hitting their shots today.
Yeah, unless it's, through a wall. Usually when you, get a wall bang headshot on somebody through the SL wall and you're up in a 5 versus 4, you're feeling pretty good about the round, but didn't even look close. This game in general is just not looking close whatsoever. Rogue's looking so strong.
Sick might be in a bit of trouble as Android is able to take the first deal.
See, where was that, like, 10 rounds ago?
It's coming a little bit late, unfortunately. So everything is just going to slow down as Rogue do manage to lose the first man up. Sick just getting a little bit aggressive. I mean, he's in every right to. You're up 11-3 in your T side. That's where you kind of go, look, let's see how aggressive you can really get.
In all honesty, he probably wins that aim duel like 9 times out of 10. He's running up against a Famis. Don't know if Android got a dink off there or whether that's just good spray control, but usually you'd back the AK to win that one.
I think it was just good spray control. There was no dinks. It was just all body shots.
I mean, in general, like, I'd be interested to see how well Rogue actually plays this T side if complexity doesn't give them so much respect. Like, they're just let to do whatever they want. They've run like 4 or 5 different strats where none of the Rogue players have really died before, like, a minute or whatever, or until they're on the bomb site.
Peter's just dancing around. Yaestar has to make huge impact right now, but they just walk out a T connector. And Yaestar's caught off guard. They know one's in sight. That's going to be Vice, who just takes his head off. And complexity, once again, with the numbers advantage, not pushing forward the agenda. More than content to allow Rogue to kind of come in. And as a result, Rogue just slowly, once again, it's like a stroll in the park for them at the moment. Not making any noise. And that's really just down to the round pressure as well. They now know where Def is. And with a mag 7 at range, I mean, he's gone a little bit closer. So he should be able to kill Cadian here. Nope. This is the pellets. I think they know where Android is. No chance in heck. And it's going to be 12-3 at the half.
Mate, how many times did Rogue walk out any combination of T-Con, Ivy, and Inners
They just
in
walked anywhere they
different
wanted.
spots without getting shot by an AWP, or getting like mollied, or getting flash pushed. Like every time Cole went aggressive, Rogue was ready for it. It was like best case scenario for them, I feel like, and it was just like, man, how often on train does that happen? Every time I walk out T-Con on train or walk through Ivy, an AWP just peeks me and I get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, it's like you've made your way to the best corridor, you know, you managed to sneak out, no smoke grenades up, so it's like, awesome, they don't know I'm here, and all of a sudden the guy just like does a 360 and just bangs your head off, and you're just like, oh, awesome.
Yeah, and then just did not happen to Rogue whatsoever.
I mean, for compLexity, it was really unfortunate. At the same time, you know, your unfortunate circumstances was kind of brought about by Undoing. Whenever that sandwich smoke came up, I didn't ever see an incendiary grenade for Olive, for example. And that's something where maybe that's a very Australian thing. That's the protocol that we, for when I was playing for my team, that's the protocol we had. As soon as the sandwich smoke comes up, or if they're putting a very early pressure on through smoke grenades or presence at T-Con, you molly off Olive to make sure that your AWP gets set up and it's safe in a position where he doesn't get walked on, like in Def's position. He got walked on. But that's, for me, it's inexcusable, man. If I was an AWP in that position, I'd be like, what are the guys in the lower floor doing? How is he allowed to come out like that? Unchecked, uncontested, unspotted.
Mate, the amount of times that they use that sandwich smoke so effectively, like, that's a super underrated smoke because everybody knows it because it's so easy to throw it, but no one knows how to use it. Everyone just kind of throws it and they're like, haha, you can't shoot me through down this lane of the trains or whatever. But in reality, like, you are, like, Astralis popularized using it like flashbangs to push people through it and shoot people back green train Ivy and back bomb while they pushed heavily out E-box side. And then they would have one on top of blue train or whatever, or an AWPer locking down one of the lanes. And it's like, that's how you're meant to use the sandwich smoke, boys. You're not meant to just throw it and be like, lol, what do now?
compLexity, what do now?
What do now?
What do
I don't
now?
know that
What
they
do
can
now,
do
Mitch?
anything. They lose pistol, they done. Not what do, this we done.
So must-win pistol. Whereas Rogue going to be feeling quite confident. They even have the smoke grenade on Vice as well. So FNS has got the Molotov. And this is something which is becoming a little bit less popular these days. Running the Molotov and the pistol around. I don't particularly like it because of the smoke grenade. The CT will always have a smoke grenade in this scenario. It's a deep smoke. Hiko is going to be tagged down quite heavily, but they're going to flood in quite quickly, and Sick going to be in so much trouble. You can't deal two angles as Sick, and he's going to go down quite easily. That shot from Yeastar to pick off Hiko. So able to get the kills working this way for compLexity this time. Flashbang is going to buy a bit more time. So Rogue's only chance here is they pop a few more heads, and that's not going to happen because Depth is popping more heads, and Vice last man left standing, no armor, surrounded from all sides, compLexity to win a very crucial pistol.
Well, that's step one of maybe like 15.
Yeah. They need, no, not 15, 13 steps.
I'm not going by round.
Not going by
there's a couple
rounds?
mental steps in there, economic decisions. Probably a lot more steps than 15, to be honest.
But those are the, I mean, winning the pistol is kind of like the step where it's like, all right, boys, we're back into it. We can definitely do this. You know you can reset, get 5 rounds, and then all of a sudden, 8-12, not looking too bad. You've got money in the coffers. You can afford a little bit of luxury of losing 1 and then pushing forward. And Cadian's going to just spot the corner, spots 2. But Def and FNS just going to be holding the angle, and they're going to be rewarded with 3 kills. And Hiko in no man's land going to be shut down. So a pretty quick anti-Hiko. Nothing really to talk about there.
Mate, compLexity is literally like the robbers in Home Alone right now. They're just like so many things they could trip over, and once they do, they're done.
But don't the robbers trip over a lot of things?
Yeah, but so far they haven't tripped over anything. So far, so good.
So it's not Home Alone then. What happens if they come back and win it? Are they the robbers then, or are they something else?
I mean, that's more of a realistic, like, to be honest, I would love to see it. Maybe most people wouldn't, but a version of Home Alone where it's a bit more realistic and the robbers just like, yep. Took all your stuff, boys.
Double the nade stack actually means that one of the AKs has been lost. I think they can hear the rotation right now. Oh, Android, they're losing so many of these AKs just to a pistol buy. And just look at this constant rotation coming out from Rogue, just in, out, around. But hopefully some normalness will be restored. And there it is. Yeastar, Def, and FNS. All picking up a kill apiece. And that should be it. GMD. Surely he's not allowed to steal this round. He can do more damage, but surely he shouldn't be allowed to steal a round away.
Been seeing this a lot more, actually. Like, the USPs and just P250s and stuff getting so much work done on these pistol rounds. And something I've been seeing a lot in like the European Pro League is that like when you full eco on Mirage on CT side, you just 5-man peak window and people strafe out top mid with like AKs. And you literally just 5 of you firing squad them, and you get so many kills and so much damage doing that.
We saw that the other day with Avant versus Legacy, I think, on Mirage, where they did the exact same. You know, a single flashbang over connector, straight through the smoke. They don't even
flash. Like, they literally just 5-man peak window, all in a different spot, and someone strafes out mid, and they just absolutely blast him firing squad.
GMT.
Like, just death squadding with USPs being pretty effective lately, I feel like. Ooh, look at this connector control. Man,
I like
Rogue...
it.
So much depth on their CT&T. I love that, by the way. That's something I love doing on CT a lot of the time, or even on T to take areas. You throw one crap flashbang that the person's almost definitely going to turn from, and then you throw an absolute banger straight behind it.
And Caden's just debating what to do. He knows the AWP is there because Peter trying to go for a couple of chance wallbangs. He's going to push GMD off, but he's just more than content to leave the position. If compLexity want to make their way in, they're going to have to deal with Cadian, who's just going to be shoulder peeking it.
Oh, he's playing with fire, mate. Oh, how does he get away with that?
Pretty easy. Easy as you do. I don't know if GMD, that's probably not the best fight to be making. Cadian
saying hi to Yaestar.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate that Yaestar started shooting. If he didn't shoot, I mean, he would have been out of there with no trouble whatsoever.
Vice has got Cadian though, then might not expect him on this angle. Here comes the molly. Is that going to go sandwich? Yep, down into sandwich. Ooh, Peter, where was that from?
It was from T-Connector, coming and jumping on the pallet, able to get the shot onto Blue Train. That's something that the AWPers do a lot more frequently now. They get on the pallet and they jump up.
They're going in as Sick is so late to this, but he's got a 1v2. They're not committing yet, though. Oh.
They have to commit 15 seconds. They're going back to SL. Hiko's been drawn off. So this is really good from compLexity. And Vice, the only person in a position to stop this. He's going to take down Android and drop down to Green Train. Oh, he's going to go for the spray down. And he's going to deny the bomb carrier. That is huge coming out from Vice. And you said last season that Vice was the player to watch. Mate, and he was definitely the player to watch in that round.
So many, literally so many highlights of Vice is like he's coming in like late to the party on a CT round with the M4 and spraying a bunch of Ts in the side and just multi-frags. I swear to God, that's where he's at his best. Put him in every rotator role ever, and he's just coming in mid-round or late round, and he just shuts down a whole T round by himself with the M4.
I would say that was sick, but it wasn't. Which kind of ruins it now for me. This is why I don't like 6 A-lists. It's like, oh, that was sick. No, it wasn't. That was Vice. Oh,
I'm going to change my name to Great. So whenever I make a play, that was great.
That was great.
That was cool.
Or no, I just named myself Good Job.
Good job.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Lollipop 21k.
compLexity have enough money, except for Android, who's only got a Desert Eagle.
FNS with the plebeian. What a great name for an AK. You know what, though? That doesn't even make sense, mate.
Wait, who had the AK?
Not the plebeian. Like, the plebeian's like the M4. It's probably the FAMAS, actually.
Yeah.
Or the Galil.
I mean, the story that I have
I literally... Wait. I literally said this the other day. I'm going to interrupt you real quick. I was like... We were anti-eco in a match. And I went to T-spawn when a bunch of people were rushing from Monster on Overpass with USPs. And I sprayed down 2 people and they got my Galil instantly. And I said, don't worry, boys. I've given them the only weapon worse than a USP.
So how did it go from there? You guys won it? Or?
Yeah, we won it easily. Okay. They didn't even get anything done with the Galil. The Galil was so trash, man.
All right. So compLexity to go on the uppers. Sorry to interrupt you, Pilly. It was a good story. But Six just waiting this entire time. Takes down Depth, and Hiko has the upper ramp covered. So
mate, this
pretty
game's
easy deflection. Peter may be able to make something happen here. He's got the AWP, and this is a round where he needs to go explosive right now. A lot of investment given to him. He's going to go back down the inner ramp. I think May spot Vice's head jumping up and down, but I think Vice has spotted him as well, and GMD now coming in.
Oh, that Molotov.
Yeah, that's ruined him completely. Forces him into a terrible position.
There's
the rest of Rogue clean up. The story I was about to give is, we always joke about the FAMAS being a pretty weak weapon in terms of you don't really see a lot of multi-kills with the FAMAS. If you do...
garbage, mate.
Yep. In a match, one of my teammates, he says he's retired from the game, but he's subbing in for us. Yeah. He comes in, hasn't played the game in about a month. He maybe DM a couple of times. And I swear to God, T side, they execute on an A bomb side on Cache. He gets 3 kills in a second. No assistance damage. He gets 3 kills in a second. I just
must have just lined up or something.
Like, how? Like, even if you line up against a FAMAS, how does that happen?
Sometimes, you know, the odds are just in your favor. It's just hard at the cards. You're
I think
playing with your grandfather's deck and...
compLexity looking to make a contact play in B. They're forcing up whatever they have. It is starting to dwindle away into their last opportunities.
Look at the confidence from GMD. No support. The boy's just playing in SL. Doesn't care. He's never cared.
He's going to eat an aid, though, for his trouble, so maybe he has to care a little bit, because they're dropping down together. I was about to say, I'm like...
straight in there.
I love that double drop. It generally guarantees a 1-for-1 trade at worst case scenario for the T's.
Vice is going to mid-round push Ivy. Will this be deflected by your mate Android?
No.
Apparently this hasn't been factored into his code.
They're still going to be committing on the inner bomb site. Yaystar making noise, and Hiko's going to spot him who comes in at the right time. Oh, they're going to drop down 2 of them. Again. Yeah, it doesn't work out this time, though, for compLexity as well. But Hiko's managed to sneak up quite fast, and he's going to find one. He knows what the second is.
Oh,
Decent enough spray control to get the second. He's got the HP buffer. And it's all down to Android with the Desert Eagle. Oh, this is the moment where you say you hate to see it, and you do, because Cadian's got an AWP, and that's just a shooting gallery.
I mean, Hiko's not the inner anchor anymore, but I was having flashbacks back to Liquid in the major when he was playing the inner bomb site like that and just multi-fragging like crazy. I was like, here it is, and then I remembered it was 2018, and he struggled to get that kill in like 12 bullets.
Now? Like, once again, it's always allusions to last season. I mean, we saw Hiko have a couple of rounds of, you know, flashbacks to some brilliance.
Yeah.
But now it's like, we can honestly go, Hiko's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And the rest of the team may just be a little bit better than Hiko.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is scary when you think about it, because that is...
But it'll be interesting to see, like, it's online, right?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, like, Hiko, you've come second place at a major. You're not living for this anymore. Like, you just... It's whatever right now. That's a nice run boost across. Nice play from compLexity. Little creative stuff. But you know, who's going to perform when it comes to a big LAN? Who's going to be? Is Hiko going to come back and just drop bombs again?
Sick can definitely perform.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think Hiko will. He just reminds me of a player who just thrives in the kind of environment as opposed to the online.
I think Cadian has a bit of trouble with pressure sometimes, but I don't know.
Cadian's more of a kind of supportive AWPer as opposed to the aggressive get-in-your-face AWPer, so it's not too...
I think he's a bit of both. It depends if he's feeling it or not. Like, I've seen halves from Cadian where he's feeling it and he'll just go 20 frags in a half. Aggressive AWPing.
Look at how Rogue are playing so defensively, though. They just box back on the bomb site.
They're all in... You could draw a circle around them right now. Cadian's going to open it up onto Def. And, I mean, it's not the worst thing ever because compLexity's got such bad weaponry. It's working out perfectly.
Yeah, they're all
in position around against all AKs. There's no way that works out, but against, umps, and of course, one of the worst weapons in the game, the Galil, the only weapon worse than a USPS.
Galil isn't that bad. I've trashed it before in the past. I'll say it is a terrible gun. I wouldn't say it's worse than a USB in certain cases.
Literally, you DM all the time, right? You get in the AK, you go, oh, I can get a head kill fairly easily, like 1 kill entering the bomb site. With the Galil, you're literally like leaning into your screen, like focused on your crosshair, and you're like spraying at someone, and you're lucky to get 1, or like 88 and 4 or something.
You know what the trick here with the Galil is, right? Is firstly, you don't. It's with a gun that doesn't have like the perfect first shot accuracy. For me, I just hope so. I say a little prayer. I go like, please today, let this Galil assault rifle just go somewhere. I don't even aim, like, with normal people with the crosshair, they aim at head height. For me, the Galil...
Not a normal person, that's for sure.
That's for sure. I saw in the Gev change, I'm like, awesome, my new main gun. For Galil, I just aim at center mass. It's just completely different. And this is the round where I went, like, Rogue. It was that big reset round, and from there on in, it was just pretty much the entire...
compLexity's economy. They had to eco so many times throughout the rest of the half.
It's like GMT just plays around the smoke perfectly, knowing he's got the support, he's got 1 in SL, he's got 1 at the blue train near T connector. And from there on in, it's just, you see this every single time, they're executing. Look where the Ts are on the mini-map. They're all spread out really nicely, spaced apart, so they don't get, they can't get insta-traded out, but they can all just swing and focus fire on a CT if need be. Just always in a position, they're never straggled out, they're never in a position where it's really awkward.
This is a GMT highlight reel, by the way.
Yeah. And
then,
and at the same time, you know, we say Vice had one really good round, and he apparently has like 18 or 19 kills and 8 deaths. So
yeah,
it's
where
like,
did they come from, mate?
it's like one of those games where it's like, yeah, I don't remember Vice getting any kills, but apparently he ends up with like 20 kills or something like that. And this is the round where it kind of sealed the deal.
We see this all the time. I literally see so many highlight reels of Vice with an M4A4.
Good spray control, really, at the end of the day, allowing him to just...
Here I was like, oh, Hiko, never mind, it's 2018 Hiko. That's where you realize it's 2018 Hiko.
That's alright, he'll be back, I believe.
Takes 10 bullets to get the kill on the guy standing still. Love it.
Yep, so pretty easy victory, I think, for Rogue at the end of the day. It was really solid fundamentals, backed up by a good trading game. All the players were feeling it. Complexity, probably a little bit off, but when you're on that CT side, if you can't make the adaptations because you don't have the economy, you don't have time to make the switches in time, you run a double-up setup to try to get control of the T-connector, it doesn't work, then there's no, you know, eventually there's going to be a time where you don't have another go. And that's what happened, I felt like, in this game. Give it another 10, 20 CT rounds, which you can't have. Maybe Complexity would be able to figure out the solution.
No,
but
I feel like it was just night and day in that game.
Night
Like
and
Rogue
day?
looked like they looked like they were really trying to win. They looked like they were here to play. Complexity looked like a bit online CS. Like, give it your best go, guys, but we're not gonna, you know, wreck ourselves if we lose this game. And I mean, individually, a lot of the most important Complexity players didn't show up. Tactically, they didn't look like they were even close to on the same page. And economically, they're, you know, losing too many guns, having to take too many eco rounds, and when Rogue's smashing you on the buy rounds, let alone the eco rounds, what can you do?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was just better executions. And on the T side, I mean, we didn't see anything on the buy rounds as well.
I mean,
it
what was that? It was a
down.
16-6, right?
16-6.
And they even got a pistol.
Yeah, so it was a 12-3 half. They switch over, they get the pistol, get the 2 anti-ecos, and then afterwards it was just all the Rogue show. I mean, a couple of multi-kills going in the favor, but that's just the patience coming out once again where Rogue are setting up in positions. I mean, maybe they were drawn off by the over-rotation, but they set themselves up for success, and as a result, they're rewarded for it.
Mate, if you get a pistol and you're getting less than double digits, you need to go have a little sit down in the lounge chair and have a big think about what's going on.
Do they get T-pistol?
No, they got T-pistol, but not CT, I think.
Just trying to remember.
Yeah,
no,
Rogue
Complexity won their
T-pistol.
Rogue won their T-pistol. Yep.
Yeah, both of them run their T-pistols.
Yeah, but I mean, they got so heavily punished by the CT half. When you're not getting more than probably 3 rounds in the CT half, that's when you go, okay, what do we need to change up here? So, I mean, looking back at it, do we ever see Complexity run a double SL setup, for example?
No,
I don't think I remember they did.
When they played aggressively, they would send people aggressive inner, or like they would send like Peter to go get aggressive picks with the AWP, and they would just get punished for it. So
yeah,
never went into SL. When Rogue went into SL, it was just GMD getting up in people's faces, and most of the time would just get punished, instantly killed by utility or whatever. But then they wouldn't make any use of that, and I feel like so many positions like Complexity, they'd be like, wow, we just got the easiest first pick in the world, and then Rogue would just be like, we're 4v5, but we're playing like 10 times better than you guys, so it's too easy still.
Yeah, so it was a little bit too easy for Rogue as they secure a 16-6 victory on Train. But it will be Complexity's map pick on Cache next. After the break, let's see if they can come back and take it. So we'll see you in about 5 or 10.